what is general science? What topics are there? What topics should I prepare? What topics should I not prepare? Is there a book? Is there a guide? Is there a reference? No, there's nothing. I am not from science background, so UPSC will ask deep questions. I'll not be able to answer them. Most of the questions are what will make sense to you. And when you practice PYQs thoroughly, you'll also be able to assess the mock tests which you are giving in, that how relevant they are with the UPSC exam, or what kind of questions do you particularly struggle with. Maybe you can practice. For those of you who are preparing for Prelims 2026, this is the peak confusing period. You've studied so much. Now you don't know what to do further. You don't know how much more is needed, how much less is needed. You probably collected a lot of material, collected piles of current affairs, but what do you do to actually anchor yourself to make, like people talk about, being relevant, being in the context of the exam? We're going to talk about that exactly today. We are talking about the PYQs, Previous Year Questions. So we are bringing this program, Prelims PYQ Plus. Before I take you to that, I want to talk to you about how one would normally prepare for an exam. See, if you've started preparing for any exam, I'm sure we've done that before. The first thing is, of course, we look at what is the syllabus of the exam. So this is the UPSC Prelims syllabus. I'm sure all of you know this. All of you have probably learned this. General Studies paper 1. So it talks about all the different parts of your syllabus. So you have current events, then history of India, Indian and world geography, Indian polity, governance, then economic and social development, general issues of environmental ecology, biodiversity, and general science. So I'm going to talk to you here specifically about science. If you have to prepare science, what UPSC is telling you? Prepare general science. Now, what is general science? What topics are there? What topics should I prepare? What topics should I not prepare? Is there a book? Is there a guide? Is there a reference? No, there's nothing. The content which is available, it would be enormous, because general science, these two words, they are limitless in a sense. So my anger towards what topics I pick up would come from my previous year questions. That's the golden opportunity here. How we break this down, or how I elaborate this general science. Like, I've integrated this for a few years, like 6-7 years content I've taken, and this is a pie chart which has come out of that. Just look at this. This is now giving me specific topics. So I have biotechnology, I have health, I have defense, energy, nanotechnology, governance in S&T. Then you have some miscellaneous questions, okay? Space technology, electronic communication, information technology. Now this will give me an idea of the actual subtopics which I have to prepare. So here it's not just about randomly going around, but with PYQs, with previous year questions, your approach becomes very targeted. You can also understand the importance of different kinds of questions. Like in this particular area, if I look, okay, so biotechnology has 16 questions. Then you have information technology. So this is giving you an understanding that these are important areas. These are areas which I cannot afford to miss. These are areas from which more questions are asked. And accordingly, I'll correlate them with my current affairs also, and I'll find out a lot of current affairs development are taking place in this. So I need to know the basics of that. Okay. Now, the dimension in which I have to approach a topic. How do I understand that? Okay, let's say biotechnology. So which aspects in biotechnology are needed, right? And how deep am I expected to go? In science, this is a very tricky part, especially for a lot of people who don't come from science backgrounds. So they always worry about this fact that, I am not from science background, so UPSC will ask deep questions, I'll not be able to answer them. Without having this assumption, give yourself a chance, go through the previous year questions. They will tell you that most of the questions are what will make sense to you. With PYQs, a proper analysis, when you do it, you will find there are some easy questions. There are some medium range questions, which if you prepare well, you will be able to answer. They'll become easy for you. And there are definitely some difficult questions also in science, no denying that. But what is the weightage of each of these, and how will you individually manage each of these questions? That's the plan which you need. You cannot just go into the exam and start fending for yourself. So that is why you need that, I would say, not just the quantity part, but you need that qualitative analysis of your portion of different topics. And with UPSC exam, of course, because there is always uncertainty, a lot of people say they're not going to repeat questions. I've brought in some examples of questions where I'll tell you that even when they don't repeat questions, it does highlight key areas for you. Let me take you through an example. See this. This is a 2020 UPSC question. This is in biotechnology. So, in the context of recent advances in human reproductive technology, pro-nuclear transfer is used for fertilization of egg in vitro by the donor sperm, genetic modification of sperm producing cells, development of stem cell into functional embryos, prevention of mitochondrial diseases in offsprings. Now, the answer to this, of course, if you're doing PYQs, you're of course looking at the answers, you're trying to understand what it is about. So the topic which gets highlighted here is prevention of mitochondrial diseases. This is my answer, D. To prevent mitochondrial diseases, this is a technology called pro-nuclear transfer. Okay. Now, when I go through previous year questions, it becomes my duty to look at what is mitochondrial diseases, what is pro-nuclear transfer, how it works, because it's been asked. Okay. This is a procedure which was very successfully done in UK, and it has been prominent since then in many countries of the world. They are demanding that these kind of processes should be allowed. So we know this is an important theme. The next year, the very next year, so 2021, this is another question. Just look at this. In the context of hereditary diseases, consider the following statements. Passing on mitochondrial diseases from parent to child can be prevented by mitochondrial replacement therapy, either before or after in vitro fertilization of the egg. A child inherits its mitochondrial disease entirely from the mother and not from the father. So we're not solving this question. I'm not taking you to the answer, but what I'm telling you is the question which came 1 year early, that was telling you that this is a topic you have to prepare. And think about the fact that maybe you've assumed that this topic I will not prepare, or maybe you've not gone through the previous year question. So this question, which you should have known, this is a more complex question than the last one, but why this is more complex or why this is putting up more details is because I've already asked it. So they are telling you that this is a topic which is there. So you need to develop on that. Sometimes there are multiple options to a question. One might be the answer, but the other options might be asked later on. So this is like a ready-made opportunity which you cannot afford to lose at any cost. Think about how tragic it would be if you did not go through that, if people in 2021 did not go through the 2020 question paper and did not know about mitochondrial diseases and the technology which we have for them, right? So don't become a part of that sad trap, okay? There are a lot of things which we cannot predict. There are a lot of things which will just randomly show up. But at least if there is something through which we can get an assessment of questions and topics and themes, we should not miss out on that. Because the differentiation in preparation, or ultimately the differentiation in result, would be in those 2-3 questions. Okay, and those 2-3 questions usually come from unconventional areas like science and technology, where you need that advantage, which maybe another person who's kind of ignoring this subject will not have. So don't miss out on this opportunity. And when we are bringing this program to you, the Prelims PYQ Plus, our objective is that we'll do it very comprehensively, especially because dynamic subjects, like science and technology, I cannot point you towards a book that please go read this book, you will be done, right? There's no Lakshmikant here. Here, you have to have that evolution of concept. Okay, when you'll be doing previous year questions, when we'll be doing any kind of mock test, you'll have that understanding. If you really analyze and said that, okay, I have a concept gap, I have a gap in accuracy, okay, I have a gap in remembering facts, and then you can accordingly, retune your preparation according to that. But you have to put in the work, and leaving PYQs, it would be inexcusable. So we are going to prepare PYQs of 15 years. And it's not just those questions. We're not learning questions. We are not mugging up answers, but we are evolving our conceptual understanding of different topics through those PYQs. We're going to, of course, do that in a very broad way. We are going to really make sure that we capture the overall sense, the depth, the clarity which UPSC needs. But PYQs is something, the importance of which I cannot stress enough. I'll give you one more example to just substantiate my words. See here. This is a question which was asked in 2016. Okay, what does this question say? Which of the following statements are correct? So the question says, viruses can infect bacteria, fungi, and plants. Now the answer to this, which I'm going to tell you, is three. All three of these can be infected by viruses, bacteria, fungi, plants. Okay. Now, there are themes or concepts, especially like viruses, one topic which UPSC has asked so many times. It's a very key thing. All the diseases, the new diseases particularly which are coming in, they're all mostly viral diseases. So this year, the prelims which has just passed, year 2025, they've asked this question. Which I would say would be quite a simple question, but let's see the statement and see how that 2016 question would help in this. So consider the following statements. No viruses can survive in ocean waters. No viruses can infect bacteria. No virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity in host cells. Now this statement is a repetition of that 2016 statement, right? So if you knew that, either ways, if virus can infect or cannot infect, you know at least one statement for sure, right? Sometimes you don't find these things in your standard material or not in one place. So your expansion of places is happening through questions, right? So questions have to be optimized in that sense. Another thing, like for this question specifically, is a practice which you have for answering this different kind of a question, which is how many of the statements given above are correct. Okay, most questions ask you which statement is correct, which is not correct. This is asking you how many. This is like a recent trend of UPSC, so you should know these trends also. And when you practice PYQs thoroughly, you'll also be able to assess the mock test which you are giving in, that how relevant they are with the UPSC exam, or what kind of questions do you particularly struggle with. Maybe you can practice more of those questions. Like you have this option of Sandhan. So Sandhan is that platform which gives you the opportunity to have different questions. Like maybe I want to answer more topics from particular, more questions from particular topic. Maybe I'm always getting stuck with space related questions. I'm always confused with defense, current affairs, which missile, which helicopter, what is happening. So practice those questions more and develop that understanding that which areas you need to work on from PYQs. So PYQs would be this first step. You learn that, you broaden, you reorient the content which you've already read through that, and then you do more practice. Then your practice is going to be in a targeted direction. Then you become one step closer to your final result. Okay, so I hope I was able to explain the importance of PYQs here, and I'm Really hoping this is one mistake which nobody will do. You all are going to take this seriously and start preparing PYQs. Make your preparation relevant and in sync to the UPSC exam. On that note, thank you.